Number 9. Caleb, who did we put at number 9?
We put our beloved Dallas Mavericks with our also beloved Luka Doncic. Hey, Amir, why don't you go ahead and tell me about Dallas's off season?
No, you.
All right, I got you guys. Because I'm the better podcast guy. I go and I'll show you guys how much I care. They added Josh Richardson. They brought Trey Burke back, and they brought Willie Cauley-Stein back for some reason. Now they lost Seth Curry, but looking at what they did, I don't think they got worse. I think they got better. We'll see if Tim Hardaway Jr. can have that type of year again this year coming up. But I feel relatively good about Dallas going into next year. Kristaps needs to stay healthy, which ever since the ACL injury in New York, or the ankle injury in New York, really kind of hasn't shown that ability to stay healthy. But you never know. Players could have that one year where it just changes for them. I really like them going into next year. They have an MVP favorite. He is the betting favorite, isn't he? We're not going to mention his name, Amir. We're just going to say, is he the betting favorite?
Yes.
We'll just refer – from now on this podcast, Luka will now be known as 77, okay? We're just going to call him 77. We're not going to mention any names. We're just going to call him 77.
Okay, good. That lowers my blood pressure.
Okay, so 77, Tim Hardaway Jr., Josh Richardson, Kristaps, Dwight Powell coming back from his Achilles. That's your starting 5. Pretty fun stuff, right? And going into the 2021 offseason, they're expected to have, enough for a max. What are your thoughts on this, Amir? What do you think they're going to do to surround 77 with some talent?
Well, first off, I'm so sick of number 77. But talking about the rest of the team, I don't agree with you in the fact that they got better. I think they stayed the same, and they kind of did the Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other for the Josh Richardson and Seth Curry meme. That's what I think. And I don't think that got him that much better. Getting Dwight Powell back, yeah, that's like adding another piece that they didn't have. That's great because, again, preseason, we have to keep justifying since we have a bunch of bozos listening. But Dwight Powell has looked good already in preseason. As far as his movement, his jump, his athletic ability, it looks the same. So it's good to see that. Porzingis is going to be out, though, Caleb, for the first month or two of the season. He's still got that knee injury. I'll talk about Porzingis in a little bit, but he just, to me, I don't know if he's the right fit next to Luka as the future guy, as the next star.
I feel like the idea of a European stretch big kind of got Dallas really, really excited because of, certain Dirk Nowitzki. But I feel like, that's not fair to Porzingis. Not really fair to 77 to surround him with a guy that you hope is that good. You're right. I do agree with that Kristaps probably more than likely is not the perfect guy for that. Now, they will have good games together where they're like, oh, my gosh, look at this duo. But for the most part, like, Kristaps really – he didn't help in the playoffs. Like, he was out. And you got to have a guy – like, availability is the best ability, right? If Kristaps can't stay healthy, that's unfair to 77.
Well, he's not going to be healthy to start off the season, so I want to see how Dallas is able to handle that. As far as the rest of their team, I mean, we'll see how much they're able to do. I think Rick Carlisle is a hell of a coach, so I'm excited to see what they do in their third year with number 77. Number 9, we put them at 9. That's a little bit high to me. I don't know. This one was a tough one for me because I can see number 77 having a little bit of a jump again, but how much help does he have from the rest of his team? And we talked about the starting lineup, and Hardaway Jr., Josh Richardson, obviously number 77, Kristaps, Dwight Powell, all good players, but Josh Richardson, inconsistent. Hardaway Jr., not the guy you want to put next to number 77. We talked about this yesterday.
He had a good year last year, but, like, can he really do that again? Because Tim Hardaway Jr.'s entire career has kind of been good year. Everyone's like, okay, he's good now. And then it's, like, downhill again. Because remember, Atlanta paid him big money coming from the Knicks. And then they sent him right back to the Knicks, like, 2 years after, and were like, nah, he's not who we thought we were getting.
And Hardaway Jr. plays as good as he does because Luka puts them in this. Oh, sorry, number 77 puts them in the spots that he can to win, and he puts them in the perfect positions where that's their highest percentage of shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Josh Richardson, another guy, he hasn't been good since Miami. He struggled in Philly, and after Philly, now with Dallas, we'll really see what he does. He'll probably have a better year than last year, I will say, because I feel like, again, Luka's going to put him in positions where he's going to be able to succeed. But we'll see what that rest of that team. It's not too exciting, not too flashy of a roster. But again, we talked about Rick Carlisle is one of the top tier coaches in this league, and he knows how to get the best out of his talent.
I agree.
Let's go to our buy or sell. Number 1, number 77, Luka Doncic.
Hey, Luka, what parts of your game, you mentioned wanting to improve, but what parts of your game did you focus on these last couple of months, and what are you going to focus on going forward?
Like I always say, you got to work on everything. You're never going to be until you're the best at something, you got to always work on it, and I'll just work on everything, especially my shooting.
Well, there's Luka Doncic, and he's speaking about this year and stuff he needs to work on, which is everything.
Restart that. You were really, really like static whenever you came out of that.
There's Luka Doncic talking about this upcoming year and how he wants to work on his entire game. My question to you, Caleb, and we're going to talk about this in the future, so don't get too much into it, but Luka Doncic will win the MVP this year. Buy or sell?
Well, where do MVP teams usually finish in their conference? Top 4 seed, right? Usually. They finished 7th seed last year. They're going to have to make a leap. And can Luka Doncic alone take them there? I mean, he already had an amazing year last year. Can he alone take another leap to lead them to that level? We'll have to see, but I'm going to say sell. I'm going to take the field and say that he wouldn't win MVP.
That was my answer.
Okay, well, we can agree on some stuff.
Well, I agree. And that was the exact point I was going to bring up. So, Caleb, thanks for stealing the words out of my mouth. Luka is a MVP type player. He's a guy that should win MVP within the next 3 years. But will it be next year? No. And the reason why I don't think he's going to win MVP is, like Caleb said, you have to finish at least top 3 to win MVP. Does Dallas finish top 3 with Porzingis being out early in the year?
No.
Probably not.
You also have to think, though, when Westbrook won the MVP, his first MVP, the year KD left, they were a 5 seed, and people freaked. They were like, that's way too low if he's an MVP. But it's like, okay, but like you can argue stats and everything. Regardless, people do not like lower-seeded teams.
And the only reason he won that was because he
storyline, amazing storyline.
Yeah. He averaged a triple-double, the first one to ever do it. Was he the first one to ever do it first or since Oscar?
He's the second to Oscar, and he did it 2 years in a row. But it's like –
But the second year, no one cared. As soon as it happened the second year, there were videos of Steven Adams boxing people out and Russ running inside and Steven Adams just letting him get the rebound, which that's still such a stupid thing to nitpick because it's like, okay, well, you know what? If it's so easy to stat pad a triple-double, then why doesn't everyone do it?
And another thing is, like, the way Oklahoma City's offense was, it was kind of like get the ball to Westbrook as soon as you can and run. If he's getting the boards, you know what I mean, you already skipped step 1. So it kind of helped their offense. But, I mean, Luka's going to have to lead them. But I don't know if he can take that massive of a leap himself. Like, he's going to need help from other players. With Porzingis out for 2 months.
But what do you consider a massive leap? Because he had a big leap last year to the point where people were saying Luka should win most improved.
But MVP for players is like, he has to do something. Now, his leap could be like 1 more point per game, 1 more assist per game. And people would consider that a massive leap because players around him are helping him out himself. You know what I mean? Like putting up numbers around him. People are so obsessed with records when it comes to MVPs. And I understand it. Like, you got to have a good record to win it. But, like, you could make arguments for MVPs every year of guys that are on lower seeded teams, like 5 seeds. You know what I mean? Because, like, would their team be there without them? Probably not. But it's just the way that voting is in the NBA. I don't really like the way voting is in the NBA.
Agreed, and that's probably why Luka won't have a chance of winning it this year. Next up, let's go to number 2. My question to you, Dallas will be just fine without Porzingis to start the year. Buy or sell?
I'm going to hold because I didn't really look at their schedule. Nah, I'm
Oh,
kidding.
okay.
I'm kidding. I'm going to go sell only because he is a good player when healthy. I didn't really look at their schedule to give you like an in-depth answer like, oh, they'll be fine to get an easy start. Well, I'm sorry I didn't, okay? But like I'm going to say sell. I'm going to bet that they struggle a little bit out of the gate because they were a 7 seed with him, really. So I'm going to guess that 77 kind of struggles a little bit early on with the team, and I don't know. We'll have to see, but I'm going to say sell.
I disagree. I'm going buy, and the reason why I'm going buy is I think they will be fine. Porzingis is going to be out for, say, a month to maximum 2 months. The one thing I will say about Porzingis is he's incredibly injury prone. He's always hurt. He's always having knee problems, and if he's not healthy for the rest of the season, then yeah, that's a big problem. I don't think they'll be fine. But to start the season, I think they'll be fine. Luka will do enough to win the first few games. Plus, a ton of players are coming in rusty and out of shape and with the shortened off season. This is going to be a weird year. Again, no fans, traveling, playing in empty arenas. For those of you who have been watching some games, it has looked weird. Just like the bubble looked weird for a little bit and the bubble never really felt normal. I don't think you'll ever have a real normal sense to this season. So for that reason, I think they'll be fine. And as long as Porzingis isn't out for too long, they should be fine. Last one. There's Luka talking already about how he wants to win a championship. Seems like a new young guy trend, huh, Caleb?
Yeah, but the only difference is I think this guy can realistically do it.
That is true. Let's go buy or sell. Mark Cuban will build a championship contender for Luka by the end of this year. So going into next season, with all that cap space, do you buy or sell that they'll be a contender?
And that's really hard because you're really banking on, again, Kristaps being healthy, and he's not shown the ability to stay healthy. But I'm gonna go buy. Luka's 77 is special, and if he can get the most out of Tim Hardaway Jr., imagine what he can do with a max contract player. You know what I mean? Granted, you have to find the right fit. What guys fit next to him? But I think they could do it. Now, the 2021 free agency class has dwindled pretty bad. Paul George extended. LeBron extended. Giannis is staying. There's your top 3 guys, really. I mean, Kawhi's still on the fence. But for the most part, your free agent class has went down a bunch. We'll have to see what they add. But I'm going to buy. I think Luka's special enough that he can recruit players. I think it'll happen.
I'm going to sell. And the reason I'm going to sell is not
only because you hate. It's because you hate Luka.
No, it's not because I hate Luka. It's because I don't know if Mark Cuban can build that team for Luka right now. Mark Cuban hasn't shown to build championship teams for players.
Dude, he almost got DeAndre Jordan.
Almost, until DeAndre Jordan was locked in his house by Blake Griffin in a freaking chair.
Yeah, well, don't forget his whole entire plan with DeAndre Jordan was to turn him into a Shaq on offense.
Mark Cuban was driving around listening to Drake calling him over and over again saying, please answer the phone, please.
Blake Griffin picked it up one time and told him he had the wrong number.
Exactly, and with that being said, jokes aside, Mark Cuban, he can build a championship contender. I mean, we've seen it with Dirk, but it took him how many years? It took him till near the end of Dirk's career. I hope it happens earlier for Luka. As much as it pains me, I love watching Luka's game. I love watching Luka's game, and I don't know. I don't buy that they're going to do it. I don't think Porzingis is the right fit. I've said that since the beginning. Porzingis, to me, not the guy for Luka. He's got to go. They got to eventually get somebody else. He makes Tim Hardaway Jr. look like Klay Thompson out there. So if you get him an actual star, like you said, I agree. I think Luka has the potential to get a superstar there. And before we move on, let's go into this really, really quick. Who do you think we can get? Who do you think Dallas can get there? Because, like you said, their best shot was probably getting a guy like Giannis. I don't know who else would want to go there. Dallas is not Milwaukee now. Now, Dallas has a nightlife. It's a nice city. It's a big city. But who will really go there? I agree that I think more players want to play with Luka than would have with Giannis because Luka's a lot more unselfish. He's a guy that you can be more of a 1-2 punch with. But again, who is that guy? Who do you think?
Well, before Washington got Russell Westbrook next to Bradley Beal, maybe Bradley Beal, but now Bill's happy in Washington. I mean, you're kind of just gonna have to play the field and see what happens this year. See if anybody gets mad at somebody. You know what I mean? Like, you never know when a superstar is gonna pop up. Like Kyrie Irving getting popped up out of nowhere from Cleveland, that was unexpected. Westbrook getting traded, John Wall even getting traded. Like, it's not expected stuff. Harden getting disgruntled whenever Houston did everything they could to keep him. You never know when a guy's going to pop up, so you kind of just have to play the field and see whose name pops up.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be tough to see who can really land in Dallas, but we'll see what happens with them. Let's move on to our number 8 team.